You know what? It is the biggest scandal in the history of college admissions. 50 people named in Operation Varsity Blues, a corrupt college culture that has many people questioning the whole admissions process now.
We believe all of them, parents, coaches, and facilitators, lied, cheated, and covered up their crimes.
Well, joining us now to talk more about this issue is Neha Gupta, author of College Shortcuts, the shortcut into getting accepted into your dream college. First of all, welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. Were you at all surprised by this, and how could something like this happen?
We know that in the college admissions process, people are feeling very stressed. When you look at outside help, 1 in 3 families are actually getting outside help. And for college consultants, this is very disheartening because it discredits an entire industry where our goal is to help students find their passion, to package them properly, because most parents don't know the college admissions process. Like when they applied, it was before the internet, before the Common Application, and they're quite stressed. And so we help them to get pitched to universities, but we do it in an honest and ethical way.
Now, we don't know how big this scandal is going to get. 50 people have been arrested. We know more people are likely to be arrested. In fact, so much has been said about that. The question becomes for parents out there, well, what do I do? I mean, how can I legitimately get my very hardworking student into a top college when stuff like this is going on?
Exactly. You know, at College Shortcuts, we've found over and over, we've helped students to get in based on their own merit.
But is that enough?
It is enough. I'll tell you my own story. My parents moved here with $20 in their pocket. They had no connections to any schools. Students that have good grades, good test scores, and if they can package themselves properly with what they've actually done on the resume with their extracurriculars and write well-written essays, we've had numerous students over the last 12 years get in based on their merit.
So there's nothing wrong with getting help in packaging yourself as best you can? Absolutely
not. There's nothing wrong with it.
But how influential is it in terms of getting a student into college if their parents have a lot of money and they donate a lot of that money to the school of choice for this kid?
I think in this case, what's happening with this situation is that parents had done something that really, to me, it breaks my heart because these students, a lot of them don't know that this has happened. So they're sitting on their college campuses now, dealing with the emotional trauma, the stress, and the frustration around it.
What these guys did was clearly illegal. That's why they're being charged, or allegedly did. That's clearly illegal. But if daddy donates $1 million to the school that he wants his kid to go to, isn't that kid going to have a better chance of getting into that school?
I would say that one of the things that we're very particular about is that we actually vet every family we work with for this reason. We interview every single family to make sure that they're practicing things that are of integrity and that are ethical. So it is very important to us to make sure that when you're looking at the 4 million applicants, we're talking about 50 out of 4 million. This is an isolated case that's happened that has really created a lot of issues for these families and for the entire industry as a whole.
But are you telling me that if I'm donating a large amount of money to a top school, that my kid isn't going to have a better chance of getting in?
I would say that we don't work with families specifically that do things like that.
Okay, one last thing. So do you think this whole scandal is going to cause a reassessment, if not a complete overhaul of the college admissions process?
I think one of the biggest issues in the college admissions process right now is that on average, a high school guidance counselor at school is dealing with over 500 students. That's why college consulting exists, so that we can help students find out what they're actually interested in. And the admissions officers need to have more information that's packaged in a way for students to really be able to showcase who they are. So I do believe that the college admissions process will be examined because of the situation that is at hand right now.
Well, I know a lot of parents out there are very worried about this. Neha, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now at 5:30, the University of California making changes to its admission process in the wake of the college admissions scandal.
NBC4's Ted Chen live right now at UCLA with reaction to these new recommendations. Ted?
Robert, Colleen, UC President Janet Napolitano said she wanted to protect the integrity of the admissions process, which of course suffered a blow with the admissions scandal. And with these new recommendations, Napolitano says she wants to make sure parents or anyone else doesn't game the system.
I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Neha Gupta says what UC is doing is great news for the overwhelming majority of college consultants, tightening up an admissions process for students so parents can't cheat their way through.
As college consulting is an industry, we're glad it's there to catch the charlatans.
Actors Felicity Huffman and Lori Laughlin are among the parents accused of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to fraudulently get their children into elite universities. Former UCLA men's soccer coach Jorge Salcedo accused of accepting $200,000 in bribes. The scandal triggering an audit and these recommendations: stronger verification of what students claim on their applications, reviewing potential links between donors and applicants, and stricter scrutiny of athletes and others with special talents who apply to UC.
If they're not looking at the donations being made, or if they're not checking if that person played that sport, that student's taking the spot of a child that absolutely deserved to be there.
UC President Janet Napolitano says the recommendations will be implemented for the coming academic year, and each campus, including UCLA, will develop its own action plan.
We want honest kids to get into college the right way.
Yeah, a follow-up audit is scheduled to be completed by the end of the year. UCLA, by the way, is the most applied for school in the UC system, accepting fewer than 16% of applicants. Reporting live from Westwood, Ted Chen, NBC4 News. Colleen, Robert, back to you.
Yes, we have heard instances of these types of things.
More parents have pled guilty in an expansive college admissions cheating scheme. Last Friday, Robert Flaxman, Marjorie Clapper, and Jane Buckingham admitted guilt to charges of conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest services mail fraud. All three allegedly paid a combined $140,000 in order to cheat college entrance exams for their kids. 13 parents have pleaded guilty so far in the case. And the parents include Desperate Housewives star Felicity Huffman.
And as the scandal continues to make headlines, we wanted to take a closer look at the impact it's having. CBS 4's Jim DeFede joins us now to explain what it means for students applying to colleges next year and lessons every parent and student should know.
The scandal has led universities such as Yale, Stanford, and Georgetown, as well as the University of Southern California, to review their admission practices. So what happens next? Joining me now to discuss the ramifications of all of this is Neha Gupta, CEO and founder of College Shortcuts, which helps high school kids get into their dream college. Neha, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love Miami and the Miami Heat, so glad to be here.
All right. Well, let's start with a different kind of heat, which is the heat that some of these parents are feeling in the cheating scandal. Was this scandal a huge surprise to you? I mean, you work in this area. You're a college. You help kids with their college applications. Was this a dirty secret that everyone sort of knew about?
With the work that I've done at College Shortcuts for the last 12 years, I will tell you it definitely was a surprise. And yes, there has been a lot of families that probably did use the back door, but when we work with families, we actually interview every family we work with to ensure that they have the same types of values we do. And I think for a lot of us in the industry, it's very disheartening because it really puts a bad name to college consulting, when in reality there's a lot of us here that really love working with children, making sure that they're packaged correctly, and helping them through this process that can be extremely competitive.
So what impact has it had on your industry?
I think one of the things that's happened is a lot of families have gotten scared about using a consultant because of this situation. But I always lead it back to the fact that, when you look at even medicine, there are some doctors that have been found to inscribe their initials on people's bones. But that doesn't mean people don't still go to get surgeries or go to their doctor. So in the same way, I think families are realizing that this is a small case because it was barely 50 to 80 families when you look at the competition of 4 million students every single year. So I think most families are realizing that, still when parents apply to college, it was pre-internet. They know that all they needed were good grades and good scores. And now that can barely just get you in the door. There's so much more when it comes to the essays and resume that having that outside help can be very crucial.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think one of the things that came out of this for old folks like me is that this is a huge business. This is an industry.
It's more than $1 billion billion-dollar industry when you look at the need for academic prep, test prep, all the different aspects of helping a student in the application process. But on top of it, I think what needs to be kind of addressed is the fact that a lot of students feel stress and anxiety. And to assume that no one needs a coach or a tutor or someone to assist would be ludicrous. It's very important for a lot of these students to get outside help during this time, because let's be real, and I'm sure you can say it too, teenage years are not always that easy.
Well, I seem to remember something about that. But how much does your a service like yours cost, if you don't want to say how much yours costs?
Yeah, so I would say they range. It really depends. For us, we customize based on every student. So at College Shortcuts, like I said, we tend to interview every family, and then we customize it based on every student. I think it depends on the type of company, if it's a mom and pop store or if it's a Walmart-sized company. It really ranges. So it would be hard for me to say.
But it's
exactly
thousands of dollars.
It can range. You could have something as low as $50 an hour, or upwards of, I guess, apparently millions of dollars when you look at this case. So again, it's kind of like buying a pair of shoes. It really depends on if you want to go to Walmart and pay less for a pair of flip-flops, or you want to go to Neiman Marcus for a nice pair.
Is there something inherently wrong with that in some way? I mean, even the phrasing that you used earlier, you said, helping the student be packaged correctly.
Yes.
I mean, the notion of we're packaging the children, we're trying to find ways to help them either write or work with them in writing their resumes, with their college essays, those sorts of things. Does it create a system where those who have money are able to hire a service like yours and get ahead, whereas those who don't have money are left behind? Does it create that chasm even wider?
I think when you look at the differences even between public and private school, like if we want to take a layer back, there is a difference between the levels of services you get from a public or private school, right? So when it even comes down, when I talk about packaging, to be very clear, the student's still writing their own essays and resume. What a college consultant does is they help them to find the right angle that will help them in getting in that door. Because a student can do all the right things. They can have good grades, good test scores, but if they can't present themselves well, and this is a skill set to me that matters much more than just getting into college. This is something I'm trying to help students in internships, in after they get out of college. How are they going to use a good resume? How are they going to present themselves well in an interview? So to me, these are skills that are important no matter what your background is. But in general, I feel that packaging is one of the issues that I see all the time when we see even adults trying to apply for things, and they may have all the right ingredients, but because it's not packaged in a way that's easy and quick and presented in a beautiful way, it's really hard to get a sense of who that is.
But again, that notion of those who can afford to get that advantage have the money. Granted, Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin can pay a lot more, but still, there's a disparity between those who can afford a service like yours and those who can't, isn't there?
Absolutely. One of the things I did was I actually created online courses, and I'm very proud to say that if a family actually follows my work on Facebook and reads the books that I've published, I get emails all the time when a student that may have been disadvantaged utilized a $19 book of mine or watched me for free on Facebook, and literally they get into schools like Stanford and top schools just because I'm so passionate about what I do. So I will say that yes, there is a chasm between if you can afford a college consultant or not, and I do feel that if families can, they should get one. But if they can't, they absolutely have so many resources that we offer here at College Shortcuts.
It's a new world. Neha Gupta, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Rick Singer, the mastermind behind the U.S. college cheating scandal, had a favorite tool to get his clients' children into elite colleges: falsifying athletic credentials. Actress Lori Loughlin allegedly paid him $500,000 to get her daughters into the University of Southern California by faking their records as athletes.
I think colleges are looking at this process and they're re-examining how they're admitting students.
Since the scandal, Yale, USC, and others have pledged to increase oversight of athletic recruiting.
Where we saw the admissions process fail was in the checks and balances between admissions and athletics, and that's what we're seeing addressed here.
Another change comes from the College Board, which administers one of the standard college entrance exams, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, or SAT. The board announced it will soon be including a so-called adversity score for students.
The adversity score looks at 15 different factors, including the crime rates in the student's neighborhood and whether English was spoken at home. But tellingly, it does not include any information about race.
Norman says that's because the College Board is concerned about new legal challenges to affirmative action. Several lawsuits, including one against Harvard, filed by a group of Asian Americans, oppose the right of colleges to consider race in admissions.
If they weren't able to consider race, they could consider this adversity index, and that would be a way to create a more diverse class without directly considering race as part of it.
Gupta says colleges are committed more than ever to creating a diverse student body. She says that's why strong test scores are not enough to gain acceptance. Applicants also need a compelling story.
It's about how you package the student in terms of how their essays are written, what their topics are about, how have they contributed or impacted the world, and what their extracurriculars are and what their passions are in life. And to me, that's a lot more grittier and more interesting than just, I got a 1600, I deserve to be there.
Karina Huber, CGTN, New York.
Welcome back to this college application season, and joining us this morning to share, well, a new approach to college admissions and offering you a free book is author and founder of College Shortcuts, Neha Gupta. Nice to have you here, Neha.
Thank you so much.
You're giving these books away. You know, this is incredible. College Shortcuts. Tell me what's it about.
You know, the thing is that in the last 20 to 30 years, admissions into undergrad, graduate, MBA programs, law school, med school programs has become so challenging. That's why most parents don't realize that businesses like College Shortcuts exist, because when they applied with paper and pen, and they put it into mail.
Exactly.
Well, now at a click of a button, you can be applying to 20, 30 schools, and so competition has gotten very, very hard. And so having a consultant and investing right now in that moment of your child's education can make all the difference in getting into a dream school.
All right, so you suggested we should start very early. How early?
Yes, so depending on what you're doing, if we're looking at undergrad, we suggest starting even 8th, 9th, 10th grade.
No, really?
Yes, to get the mentorship to finding what your passion is, what your interests are. And if you're looking at graduate schools and things like that, starting at least 6 to 8 months earlier to really make sure that you have the right application put together. One thing to note is that in early decision deadlines, some schools accept upwards of 50% of their freshman class just by applying early in the application versus regular decision.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The problem with applying early, I would think, because when I was a young high school or even junior high school student, I didn't really know who I was.
Right.
And what I was really interested in, I liked guitars, I liked to surf, I didn't like to study much. So, you're not really finding out who you are. So you've got to figure out who you are, I guess, early. That's another one of your tips.
Absolutely. Knowing yourself in anything that you do in life is so powerful. They say that 80% of Americans hate their jobs. To me, that's something I want to combat. You're spending 3/4 of your life not loving what you do. And so we actually developed an assessment where when people go to collegeshortcuts.com, they can scroll down, hit the Let's Talk button, fill out an application, and we get on the phone to start assessing where their child is at. And when they work with us, we actually assess their personality. We check what careers they would be interested in, what is their strengths, their weaknesses, because we believe if you know what you are about as a person, you can then create a compelling application. Your passion comes through, your interests come through. So let's say you loved guitar and surfing, but maybe you were also interested in other things, but didn't explore that. We believe that knowing who you are and finding those experiences can make all the difference in the application process.
I recently interviewed one of the chancellors of our local community colleges here, and I talked to her about how I switched my major in the middle of my school year, and they go, we don't let you do that anymore. So it's really important that you get to know who you are and what you're interested in before, because some institutions may not let you switch.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. All right, you also say get help, and this is what your book is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting help is everything. When you are looking to sell your home, getting a realtor who knows the market, who spends 24/7 in this market of studying how homes should be sold, you're going to have a better chance of selling it at a better price. The same thing goes when you have a nice car. You want to send it to a good mechanic. Well, when you look at your child, you've already invested a lot into your kid. So if you want to make sure they go to the right school, the right programs, they have that competitive edge, get a consultant who can make this process a lot more fun.
I'm getting a recurring theme here. So the other thing that's interesting to me, and we have actually done stories on students who send videos, they do music videos or some sort of speech or some sort of community benefit that they did. Tell me about standing out.
Yes, so standing out is everything in the process. Colleges are looking for these amazing students. They don't want the typical student who loves math and science and plays just with their Legos. Maybe they had an incredible internship and they studied how to build an app. Well, we want to package them in a certain way that expresses the passions and experiences they've had. So standing out and being unique is everything in the process.
Then the last one is do your best and leave the rest. What does that mean?
This is my motto in life. I was taught this in high school myself from a spiritual teacher, and I've realized that if you do your best in anything in life, you can rest better. So I believe that if a student, feels like they've done their best, they've really worked hard, they have an application that's beautiful, and they feel really confident, we want students to feel that the colleges or the MBA programs, all the schools they're looking at, that they're lucky to have that student. Just like a parent feels about their child, how special their child is, we want that child to know how special they are in the process. So instead of feeling accepted or rejected, they aren't concerned with the end result. Instead, they enjoy the journey.
Yeah, I think it's a good message for life. Enjoy the journey because you're doing the very best that you can. Well, this is a terrific book. It's called College Shortcuts, the shortcut to getting accepted into your dream college. And, we get accepted to many colleges. What is the dream college? I guess you can list them by rank, by location and what they're offering and your interest level, right?
And so much more. Also, it's about what is your child interested in? What type of environment will they thrive in? Mm-hmm. There's so many factors that we study with our students because this is what we do 24/7. We want to make sure that next chapter, when they leave the home or they're investing into an MBA or med school, that if they feel comfortable and loved in that environment. So the book, we're actually offering it because I love what we do so much and I want to give it to anyone that's listening. All they have to do is text the word EZYEAH, EZYEAH, to the number 797979, and they can get access to my book for free.
Oh, terrific.
Yes.
And if they have any questions, they can contact you directly. That's great.
Absolutely.
Gupta, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
And I'll look forward to seeing more of this. This is really interesting stuff, so I'm going to look into it a little bit more. Thanks so much for being here with us on Good Morning San Diego.
Thank you.
All right.
Neha Gupta is the founder and CEO of College Shortcuts, a consulting company that helps families and students navigate college admissions.
The point of college consulting is to help package your child truthfully and ethically based on what they've actually completed.
Gupta says getting into college is more competitive than ever, and her industry is meant to be a guide for families, not a sure thing.
There's an issue when parents try to cheat the system versus going at it at a very ethical and moral way.
She says the best advice for parents is to avoid anyone that makes promises.
The truth of the matter is no college admissions consultant can confirm and guarantee that.
College admissions consultant, it's disturbing, it's frustrating.
Neha Gupta helps students compile the right package to get into their desired colleges. She says she's turned away families that went on to work with Rick Singer, the man who's charged with taking in millions from parents for 8 years to guarantee admissions to top schools. Gupta says she vets families before she agrees to work with them.
We have been asked numerous times about possibly taking the SAT or ACT for the student. And when we see families like this, we automatically say, you clearly do not understand what we do.
Yeah, well, we do know that federal prosecutors say that he is the ringleader of this scam and that he owns a college counseling service called K Worldwide Foundation. I did hear your reporter talk about that the prosecutors have been looking into this, investigators, since 2005.
We are live downtown. Steve Campion, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, Steve, thanks. Now, it's not only coaches and school counselors charged in this scandal. Celebrity parents, you've probably heard, they were in on it, too.
I do know some families that have worked with him in the past. And it's, they're very concerned now about their child's future.
We spoke with Neha Gupta by FaceTime. She's Houston-based and founded College Shortcuts, which helps students get into their dream schools in ethical ways. Gupta works with wealthier clients. She says she's heard everything.
I would be lying if I said that this question does not come up. We have seen, in interviews, we interview every family that works with us. We have seen in interviews families ask us questions such as, will you be writing the essays for us? Which we absolutely do not.
In the stunning operation dubbed Varsity Blues, prosecutors say parents collectively paid $25 million to Singer to help get their kids into these top schools. The two people from Houston facing charges, court records identified them as a tennis academy owner named Martin Fox and a Houston teacher named Nikki Williams. The two worked together to help students cheat on college entrance exams, an accusation not too surprising to some.
Because we've seen over and over, there is a rise in this desire to get into a top school at any cost.
And prosecutors say this scam went on for 7 years. We've learned this afternoon that 3 people have been charged here in the Southern District of Texas. We're going to have much more on who they are and what the charges are on the news at 5. We are live downtown. Steve Campion, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, Steve, thanks. Now, it's not only coaches and school counselors charged in this scandal. Celebrity parents, you've probably heard, they were in on it too.
Governor Greg Abbott wants to make sure Texas public universities are not breaking the rules in light of the nationwide college admission cheating scandal. The governor is directing college boards to examine and investigate its admissions policies. So where do we stand when it comes to the scandal? Neha Gupta is a local education expert who knows families who use the company at the center of the cheating investigation and understands why sometimes it's important to get help in a situation like this so you don't get involved in a scandal. Welcome to Houston's Morning Show.
Thank you so much.
So tell us a little bit about your history with knowing how the admissions process works and how to do it the right way to begin with.
Yes, as someone locally from Houston, I've attended Rice University. I have found that education is one of the most important things when it comes to a child's experience in their academic career. And one of the things we've done at College Shortcuts for the last 12 years is we've read through thousands and upon thousands of essays. And what we're helping students do early on is helping them find their passion, find experiences that are great for them, and then through that helping to package them in the admissions process. Now there's good consultants and sometimes there's bad consultants. And what we're seeing here in this scandal is a very unfortunate situation for the top 0.0001% that can even afford doing what they have done. But when you look at 99% of families, they are stressed. Parents are busy, and I'm sure you're a busy parent as a working parent. So getting someone on the outside who has the expertise can really make this a lot easier.
Well, and it seems like if you already have all the tools to get into a school anyway, you just need to learn how to do it right. So what are your suggestions for parents about how to find? You said sometimes the consulting firms aren't good. How do you find the right one if you want to get help?
Yeah, first is you don't want someone who's going to give you a 100% guarantee, because the truth is you cannot guarantee that. What you can guarantee is that students are packaged the right way, where they are presenting themselves in an amazing way. And I think that is the biggest challenge. Good grades, good test scores, great extracurriculars, but they need to have that unique angle that's going to make them stand out.
And there are so many different things that you can do for the child to basically brag on themselves. I know that that's one thing you've said in the past, is that they don't tend to do that as much as they probably should.
Right. Most students don't know how to explain what they're like as a student, and most high schools have not asked their students to do this type of writing, and that's why the essay portion has been so complicated for so many families.
Where do you suggest families go for more information on this?
They can go to collegeshortcuts.com. We also are on Facebook as well, and we have a thriving Facebook group called the Parents of High School Students that helps students get that information.
Neha Gupta, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, happy hunting for all of you out there.
Now, these days, even students with perfect grades and test scores are not getting into the top schools. One expert says that's because a lot has changed since their parents were applying for college. Everything from the internet to common application weren't available during their high school years. And while the population has grown, the number of openings at top universities has not.
They say that roughly 69% of parents could get into a top Ivy League school. Today, at Stanford, it's less than 4%, and at some schools, it's less than 8%.
Experts say that a third of high school students hire outside help for college applications.
Big change is being made to the way SAT scores are calculated. The idea is to level the playing field for students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Eyewitness News reporter Eileen Frere shows us how it works.
Students taking the SATs will tell you how stressful it can be.
It's scary to think, oh, this one test can determine my future and which college I'm going to go to.
Students we talked with at Cortinas High School in downtown Los Angeles say they're in favor of a move by the College Board that will assign an adversity score to each student taking the SATs that tries to put students' lives into context for college admissions officers, including looking at average family income for the neighborhood, housing stability, and crime.
In a lot of the neighborhoods, we don't have as much resources as the people who live in the better off and well-off neighborhoods.
Having SAT scores across the board are fine. However, we're an inner city school. I know what some of our kids go through to get here and what they face when they get home.
Many students here say it creates a more equal playing field.
The equality comes from the fact they're seeing, oh, this person lives in this area, so it's harder for them than this person who lives in an area that, there's no gunshots, no violence, no nothing.
The College Board says 50 colleges and universities that piloted the adversity score found students from higher levels of disadvantage were more likely to be admitted.
It is really important that to combat, disadvantaged students, that is being added. And I think that's really important to give people a boost.
Still, one college consultant says it's just one part of the entire review to get accepted.
Even if you have the adversity scores working for you, if you are not packaged properly, you can still get rejected.
The College Board says the new score does not include race. By the way, all of the students who we spoke with, it turns out they say they were accepted into universities in the fall: UC Berkeley, UC Riverside, and UCLA. In downtown LA, Eileen Frere, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.